Eddie,
Tom?
welcome to Backyard Barbecues at the Act House, man.
Thanks, I appreciate the invite. Thank you.
As you know, we're not in the backyard.
Yep.
6 feet apart.
That's right.
So we'll have a conversation, man. But we've been excited about getting you on the show. One, I appreciate you being responsive to DM slides on Instagram.
Absolutely.
And I was hoping I can entice you with some barbecue to kind of just
Well,
talk
you asked me, do you like barbecue? I'm like,
Yeah.
what kind of question is that? Of course I like barbecue.
Exactly. It should be a question for everybody. As in like, hey, barbecue is the easiest thing that you can really eat, man. So.
And this looks great, by the way.
Thank you. So Four Rivers definitely is
Yeah, they're great.
is the food of choice right now during the pandemic. But we gotta find there's usually guys at the gas station who usually have their barbecue pits really moving. We just gotta track them down. I think they've kind of like moved in different areas.
Yeah, they're pretty
right now.
mobile.
Yeah, for sure. So you're a Cuban American.
Yeah.
What is barbecue? Like, what is barbecue to you? Like, from a cultural standpoint, right?
So that's a great question. For us, you're right, it's about culture.
Yeah.
And it's about a gathering of the cousins, the different family members, in my case from Miami, who would come over.
Yeah.
Not only on Noche Buena, which is Christmas Eve,
Yeah.
where we have something called cajachina, where we, roast
That's
the
the
pig,
pork.
the
Yeah.
pork,
Yep.
and you smoke cigars from 7 a.m. and the pork is in the ground and it's cooking, and then everyone
Yeah.
comes at night and eats on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
But it's also about, a football game, a baseball game,
Yeah.
getting together, cooking, and
Yeah.
and it was part of our culture.
Yeah.
I wish actually I would have learned more, because my wife says every time I barbecue, I can't figure out the heat thing and it's too well done. And I'm like, all right, well,
So are you using gas, using coal?
I use coal.
Okay.
Which is cool, the smell, especially now when it's kind of chilly.
Yeah.
You get to go outside with the kids and hang out.
Yeah.
Have a beer and just relax. But you have to remember, that my wife likes it medium rare.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
that easy.
Yeah.
That's that easy.
That's challenging. For sure.
Absolutely.
So, barbecue growing up for you, did you guys call them barbecues, cookouts? Like, what was the terminology?
Barbecues. And then, when I went to school in New Orleans, we used to do a lot of, with crawfish, we used to do a lot of,
man.
cookouts
For sure.
outside.
For sure.
Which was great. Any excuse, we're living a pandemic right now.
Yeah.
It's recommended if you're gonna have people over, try to do it outside.
Right.
Now is actually a great time, assuming the weather is decent where you live,
Yeah.
to have a barbecue, and it's an excuse to bring people together.
What's your favorite kind of barbecue side dish?
Probably corn. I love beans as well,
Yeah.
but I'm pretty easy. I think for me, I try to focus on whether it's chicken or the meat. Tailgating as well. I grew up going to Miami Hurricane football games.
Okay.
Back in the old Orange Bowl.
Oh, wow. There's a
And
lot of rivalry. There's a strong
There was a lot
rivalries,
of rivalries, and that was when we were winning.
A powerhouse.
Powerhouse.
Yeah.
And my parents, you'd grill a little bit before the game,
Yeah.
and it was just part of the thing that you do.
Yeah.
Which is great. And by the way, when you're barbecuing, whether you're actually cooking or eating, you're talking about business,
Yeah.
politics. In the case of Miami, we're talking about, when are we going to be able to go back to Cuba?
For sure, for
right?
sure, for
and
sure.
reminiscing on how Cuba was great and
Yeah.
things of that nature.
Yeah.
We learned a lot
Yeah.
during barbecues.
Yeah.
I learned a lot from my grandparents when we were sitting around the table.
Yeah.
And so for me, you're actually bringing back some memories which are special.
That's interesting. So it's interesting that you say that you guys talked about business and politics. And what was so interesting, because I remember like those types of conversations at our barbecues, with my family and my cousins and, uncles, aunties, everybody in between. But the way we talked about business and politics was like very different, right? It was oftentimes at the barbecue, you had the crazy uncle who, was like the conspiracy theorist, right? He would talk about the government in all types of outlandish ways, right? Or politicians, all types of ways. Then we talked about business, and everybody was kind of talking about the hustle.
Yeah,
Right?
that's right.
Like what to do, how to do it.
Yeah.
And one of the main reasons why we started Backyard Barbecues is how can we begin to take that conversation and elevate it and provide gems to a lot of people around barbecue, right? Like
Right.
kind of really increase the marinade and the seasonings of that
love it.
conversation. So what kind of conversations were you guys having, like with your peers, like your cousins and like
Yeah.
your brothers and sisters, and then comparatively with the aunties and uncles and the grandparents? Like how was that conversation?
You know,
flowing?
that's a great question. So, you know, I think for me, the older folks would talk about how they came from Cuba with nothing,
Yeah.
right? And so I actually had it lucky because I was born in Miami. My parents had already been there
Yeah.
and were established. And my grandparents are the ones that took that big risk in 1959. So I would learn about, you know, their struggle and also, more importantly, how they were able to take advantage of the opportunities that, you know, the United States provided.
Yeah.
And so that instilled in me hard work, don't give up. Just because you have an accent or you speak Spanish and not English, that doesn't mean you can't do the job.
Right, right.
And to this day, those are the things that I try to recall from memory and then try to share with other people.
Yeah.
And so I think that's incredibly helpful.
Now, were you the baby, the oldest in the family?
I was the oldest.
Okay.
So I was the oldest. I have 5 sisters.
That's crazy. That's a lot of sisters.
A lot of
protect,
sisters.
man.
It's a lot of sisters. That's a full-time job there, no, but they're great.
Yeah.
And now with some of my friends from high school and college, when we get together, yes, we reminisce about whether it's high school or college or elementary school.
Right.
But then we always also talk about what are you up to now?
Yeah.
Yes, you have your 8 to 5, but I know you're up to something else.
Something else. Yeah.
Speaking of hustle.
Yeah.
And what are you doing in your free time?
Yeah.
And we share ideas. And then sometimes you come out of there saying, you know what, I'm gonna ping you because maybe I can help you out with that.
Yeah.
Just like when we were kids and we thought we were, you know, running a business of some sort
Yep.
when we were just, you know, creating websites here and there.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. So, and that still happens today.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, during the pandemic and with people living around the United States and around the world, you kind of have these barbecue-like atmosphere, you know, hangouts, whether it's Zoom or Google Meet
Yep, yep.
or Microsoft and things of that nature.
Yeah.
But it's kind of that same thing. But I feel like when people are eating, you know, I think people kind of let go a little bit.
Yeah, man.
You know, they're comfortable.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We're eating, we're sharing a meal.
For sure.
We have something in common.
Yeah.
And then I may share something with you that I may not share with you if we weren't,
Right.
you know, at the dinner table or
Yeah.
around the barbecue together. So I
Yeah.
think that's extremely valuable.
Yeah. That's huge, man. That's real huge. When did it kind of click for you, like, hey, business is something I really need to chart after? Like, was your family in business, your parents, like mom and dad? Like, what was that early influence that kind of gave you that impetus of, hey, I need to kind of pursue this thing?
I mean, for me, I went to a Jesuit high school, right?
I went to a Jesuit high school.
a Jesuit. So the Jesuits, the Jesuit order, our current Pope,
Gotcha.
Roman Catholic Pope, he's actually a Jesuit priest
Gotcha.
from Argentina. But the Jesuits are known to be big into education
Yep.
and big into the community.
Okay.
And so I've always been a big fan of helping people, right? And I thank my parents, my high school, for example, and the priests and my friends and my group.
Yeah.
And so as I went through undergrad and graduate school, I love technology, I love business, but why can't you do those two things and also help people? By number one, creating jobs and
Yeah.
opportunities for people.
Yeah.
Number two, creating opportunities for people to grow their professional careers.
Yeah.
Number three, by doing those things, you're actually giving back to the community.
Yeah.
And so those were the things, you know, business, technology, and being able to give back.
Yeah.
And plus the drive of starting something from scratch.
Yeah.
Also, I
Yeah.
think was a big thing when I was in college. I saw a need for websites. You know,
Yeah.
this was back in 1998.
Yeah.
And now people were creating websites, but my differentiator, what I thought was different was, what about in Spanish and in Portuguese, right?
The translation.
Like we talked about, right?
Right.
So having websites for businesses, mom and pop shops,
Yeah.
or startups in 3 languages.
Yeah.
Right? Spanish, obviously very popular in the US, and
Right.
then Brazil is the 5th largest economy on the planet.
Yeah.
So my focus was creating websites. Did we make money? Absolutely not. But when I went to Kinko's,
But you probably had to build each one.
Yeah,
in that,
and I don't know what I was
The
doing.
translation buttons weren't
but
really
when I went to
there yet.
Kinko's and I put Eduardo Gonzalez Lumiere,
Yeah.
and I put my cell phone, which was the first office,
Yeah.
then I put my parents' house in Coral Gables as the second office, and I'd go around passing it out.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, someone would say, one of my old buddies would say, Eddie, that's not necessarily a company. To me, it was.
Right,
And I still
absolutely.
have that business card today.
Yeah, the vision was there.
Right. So that's how it kind of started.
Yeah.
And then we had a few, you know, .com, so a few websites that we created, and then
Yeah.
When I saw the power of technology, when I saw the power that you can use technology to create a business and also help the community, I said, that's what I'm going to do.
Now, were you the, at the Act House we have like our team model, right? Architects, creatives, techie.
Yep.
Were you the techie in high school or like in college, or were you like more the architect?
Great question. So I was more the architect. Now, I tried to code.
Yeah.
I took coding lessons.
Yep.
I did the best I could.
It just wasn't your lane.
And I realized that, I rather hang out over barbecue than code.
Yeah.
But I had amazing friends who were amazing coders.
Yeah.
But they also had some areas where they thought they were weak in, which was telling their story.
Right.
Or setting up an organization.
Yeah.
Or articulating this code to someone who may not understand code. And so I created teams with people.
Yeah.
And to this day, I'm lucky that my two business partners are amazing technologists.
Yeah.
And then I help them. I'm kind of like their sports agent, Right. I kind of share their story with customers, with team members. I actually have the easy job.
I like that.
Right? These are the guys that are doing the hard job.
Yeah.
I get to have the fun job of sharing the story of a big accomplishment, of a big product that we've come up with, which is exciting.
That's cool. So you go from Miami and you head to
New Orleans.
Right?
Yeah.
So what school did you go to out there?
So I went to Loyola University.
Okay.
Okay. And then I also took Portuguese.
Okay.
Because I was doing the websites. At Tulane.
Okay.
And I was there for 5 years.
But Spanish was your first language.
Right, Spanish.
Okay.
And then English, and then my stepfather, who's a great mentor as well as my father, he said, Eddie, we were looking at things that I can do in school to differentiate my background, right? I mean, business degrees are great, computer science is great. What kind of spice can we add to that portfolio? Yeah. And we started doing some research and we realized, Brazil is the 5th largest economy, especially during the .com area. There was a bunch of technology coming out of Brazil. So I said, okay, well, I'm going to go to Brazil. But I wanted to learn Portuguese before, because one of the things in doing research, they sort of understand Spanish, but it is different. And out of respect for the Brazilians, you speak Portuguese. So I took some Portuguese courses, and then I spent 3 or 4 months in Brazil, in Rio, immersed in the culture and in the language. So that was a great experience.
A study abroad experience?
It was a study abroad.
Sweet.
It was a study abroad, yeah.
Sweet. That's way cool, man.
Yep.
And you just started really kind of building the language.
That's right.
From that component.
And honestly, if you ask me now, Eddie, speaking Portuguese, I know a few words.
Yeah.
But I think what I take from that was the experience of seeing other cultures.
For sure.
Right? I had a wonderful family that I stayed with, but it was 2 blocks away from a favela.
Yeah.
From a shanty town. And to this day, 20 years later, literally 20 years later, I remember, I can paint, I can picture exactly what the favela looked like, and everyone working, hustling, selling from newspapers to bananas, and seeing the favela next to a skyscraper. And saying, how can I make these two groups try to potentially work together? To me, that was more important than the Portuguese language.
It seems like it taught you, conflict resolution potentially, and communication, and knowing how to build and establish relationships in a very meaningful way that only honest experience can sometimes give you.
Absolutely. And by the way, I didn't want to go to Brazil. I mean, I did because I knew it was good for my education and my career.
Yeah.
But as someone in college, I honestly, I was thinking just, the hell with it. I'm just going to stay in college, go to Frenchtown, hang out, and not invest, right?
Yeah.
So I went kind of back and forth in all transparency, but I took that risk.
Yeah.
I said what I considered a risk at that time, but it really wasn't. It was an opportunity of 3 months to learn about a new country, another culture. Right. And so I always recommend for folks, the sports, the nightlife, it'll be there.
For sure.
Right?
For sure.
Go spend 2 months.
It will always be
go
there.
spend 2 months in another part of the world.
Yeah.
And learn about that, and you come back. Don't worry, everything will be here.
How did it change you coming back? Right, like this is like your junior, senior year in college, or what?
So I was a junior. It really made me, even though there was a lot of poverty in Brazil, and I would travel around Brazil, it made me realize that what a good life I have, what a good gig one has.
More appreciative, more grateful.
In the college system in the United States. Yeah. I'm grateful for the fact that my parents and my grandparents left a communist country to come here and create opportunities for
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
So that really, I think it probably matured me a bit.
Yeah.
And then it also showed me that if there's another opportunity in the future to travel,
Yeah.
don't hesitate.
Now,
Take advantage.
Now, the real question I have is, were you able to get a business deal done in Brazil after coming back?
So one of the things that I realized when I was in Brazil, they have some of the best coders on the planet.
Yeah.
Amazing folks in technology.
Yeah.
Great education system when it comes to technology. So we did have a few folks
Yeah.
that would do the translations for us.
Get out.
So I met folks that were actually Brazilian
So the same
who
business
spoke
in
Portuguese.
Miami, you took to New Orleans.
Right.
Still differentiating on the website.
Absolutely. And I met a few
Yeah.
contacts, and we used something called ICQ.
Okay.
For the younger folks, and we would,
Yeah.
or AOL AIM,
Yep.
and we would communicate. I would send them content in English,
Yeah.
and they would send it,
Translate.
send it back and translate it for me, and
Yeah.
and we would barter, video games and stuff like
Yeah.
that, because wire transfers were a lot more difficult
For
back
sure.
then. We didn't have the Venmos of the
You
world.
had a Western Union really back then. Either.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but yes, and we created some really good relationships, and that was kind of my first foray into the entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah. So you graduate
Yeah.
Loyola, right? And
Yeah.
then what happens next? Like,
So-
what's the next move for you? I'm pretty sure a lot of conversations with Pops.
Yeah, I mean, I think
What was he kind of advising you, and what were you kind of really thinking about?
so. I love technology. I can do a little damage there. I love business.
Yeah.
I love helping people.
Yeah.
And so there was an opportunity to go to Antigua
Okay.
in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
It's in the West Indies.
Yeah.
It's actually called Antigua and Barbuda.
Okay.
So there was an opportunity to run an IT team for an international private bank.
Okay.
The website, that's when online banking was really becoming popular.
Yeah, for sure.
Online wire transfers,
Yeah.
whether it's SWIFT for international transfers or ACH in the US.
Yep.
And they were really modernizing their technology. And
Yeah.
it was an international private bank with good infrastructure and
Yeah.
good funds. And I
Sort
said,
of
well,
kind of high net worth individuals.
high net worth individuals. So I said, well, I can go back to Miami, where my family is. Most of my friends are.
Yeah.
All right, let's take another risk. So I moved to Antigua. I left New Orleans. I moved to Antigua.
You're out.
So I was
Wait, how fast after graduation?
23, about 3 weeks.
Good grief.
So I was like 23, and then I got immersed into this banking world, this finance world. And I had done some internships in the past, like at Bank Boston and some other organizations. So I had an idea of how it worked.
Yeah.
But this was on an island. Okay? And so I showed up there and I said, okay, well, a lot of beautiful beaches.
How did you show up? Did you show up in bum shorts and a beach shirt, or did you show up in a suit?
So I wasn't really sure what to wear, so I wore jeans, and I remember like one of these fishing Columbia shirts.
Yeah.
I really didn't know what to wear. It turned out that it was okay, but I could have showed up in shorts.
Yeah.
But I didn't know if there was going to be another employee or a client on the plane. So I remember flying from Miami to Puerto Rico to Antigua.
Yeah.
And they picked me up at the airport and they took me around. I thought it was amazing. I thought it was beautiful.
Yeah.
And
24, 23, like how
it
could
was
you
an
not,
amazing,
right? Yeah.
but I still miss my friends.
Yeah.
Miss my
For sure,
parents.
for sure.
Right?
For sure.
My friends were, kind of doing their thing in the U.S.
Yep.
And some were going to grad school right away.
Dude, thank
I
God
postponed it.
Thank
I
God you
postponed
did
grad-
not have Instagram at that time.
No, I would have
because
been influenced.
You had a lot of anxiety, brother.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I thought, should I go to grad school right away after undergrad? Which is always a question people ask. And I said, you know what? Let me get some experience first.
Yeah.
So I went to Antigua. Long story short, I was there for 6 years.
Yeah.
Okay, I met amazing people. A lot of expats lived there from England, and so I was able to run the technology for an $8 billion international private bank.
Yeah.
And we had some really good local talent, and the website was amazing. And then they sent me to Panama, Venezuela, and other countries to set up branches of the bank.
Your global, kind of aperture and experience was just. It was being opened up at that time.
It
You were
was.
always thinking about business globally from that perspective.
Yeah, and there were opportunities in front of me. And every time, by the way, there's a little anxiety when it comes to getting on a plane and going to a country where potentially it's not safe.
Yeah.
But I said, you know what? I'm 24, 25, 26. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And so...
The least thing you do is run.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you a story. I'll tell you something that happened in
Yeah.
Venezuela. So we would open up these branches. And obviously these branches, bank branches, they had a bunch of technology.
Yeah.
Not only the ATM, but the banking system, security cameras. So I would go and make sure that everything was working.
Right.
So one story, I was in Venezuela and we were opening up a couple branches. And I was scheduled to go back to Antigua on a Friday. And I had plans for the weekend. Once again, I'm single and I hadn't met my wife yet.
Yeah.
And the bridge to the airport under Hugo Chavez's presidency, the bridge to the airport fell. Okay? And so the president had a press conference. Mind you, it's Friday morning, and I'm ready to. My flight's on American Airlines that night.
Is this the only way to the airport?
The only way. That I was told. The president, has a press conference. Says that they're going to have help from, I believe it was China in this case, to come and repair the bridge, but it would take 30 days. So I looked around and said,
done tomorrow night.
I looked around and said, this isn't going to work.
Yeah.
I need to get back to work. I need to get back to my family. I need to get back to my friends, and got other things to do. But I was a little nervous. Well, it turned out there is one route.
Okay.
Through the mountain ranges.
Oh shit.
Okay. So at that time we actually
over the mountain.
We had some
woods.
security. Absolutely, we had security. We had some former military guys that would take us around, drive us around.
Yeah.
And they looked at me and they said, Eddie, and some older folks. They said, "Are you guys ready to go on a 4-hour mountain trip?"
Yeah.
I said, "Absolutely. How bad can it be?" And they said, "Well, you can't leave the car. So if you have to go to the bathroom, you go now.
Yeah.
There's no food. There's no water. And if there's a roadblock, we're driving right through it." And I said, well, once again, I'm in my 20s. Let's take a risk. I miss my friends, my family. And so we did that. And guess what? We made it all the way to the airport.
What were you thinking in your mind?
I needed to go to the bathroom. No, it's honest. I really needed to go to the bathroom. And so I was small bladder. And so when I got to the airport, I was very nervous because, these are mountain ranges. And, I'm a guy from Miami, New Orleans, who I wasn't used to this.
For sure.
It's amazing. I remember this. This is a great question. And so I remember getting to the airport. I have to go to the bathroom. Going to the American Airlines plane, I hugged the pilot. I swear to you. I hugged. First of all, I was sweating. Yeah. But I hugged the pilot. And then now when I look back at 40 years old, I'm 40 and I look back and I say, wow, what an experience. I mean, through this conversation, what an experience. And so, but I wouldn't have had that experience if I didn't get on that original plane to go to Venezuela or to go to Antigua. Right. So it was an amazing ride in Antigua, and the best part about it is I met my wife, Jessica, in Antigua.
Wow.
And we have 2 kids now.
Yeah, the rest is history.
And the rest is history. Her family's still there.
Wow.
We look forward to visiting them after the pandemic.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful island. They have literally 365 beaches, one beach for every day.
That's awesome, man.
And it's a wonderful country. It's independent. Been independent since 1981.
Yeah.
Wonderful culture, food, obviously the beaches, the nature. There's an aspiring tech community. They're trying to have some startups, support some startups. But that's my Antigua story.
That's crazy, man. That's wild.
Yep.
That's real wild. So you 29, 30, you now leave, and of course there's a story before being CEO of Ruvos, right? How does all this kind of this new frontier of you moving into the world of startups, right? How does this transition happen? How does this migration happen?
So great question. So I got married in 2008.
Yeah. And
my brother-in-law, his name's Jeff.
That's a good year.
He had
2008.
He had a company called UberOps. And it was kind of a startup.
Right. In 2008.
In 2008.
This is not the taxi company.
No, this is not the car sharing. No, it's not. It was 2008.
Gotcha.
And he had kind of a startup. They had been around for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And he was at my wedding in Antigua, and we talked a little bit. He wished to remain here and said, hey, I know you're going on your honeymoon, but we need to talk. I said, okay. Married my sister. Absolutely, I'm going to be here to help. So I get back from our honeymoon, and he says, Eddie, myself and him and his business partner needed some help running this business that was being managed by 2 coders, 2 developers.
And where were they? Where was this location?
Tallahassee, Florida.
Tallahassee, Florida.
And so I looked at my wife and I said, Jessica, we're going to Florida to help Jeff out.
Yeah. No, you guys are.
And we're in Antigua.
In Antigua.
And
okay.
she says, "Where's that? South Beach?" I said, no, actually,
hell no.
Actually, it's more like Georgia. But I thought your family did the Miami. It's a long story. They're in Tallahassee.
Yeah.
And she supported it.
Wow.
So I showed up to Tallahassee. a month after my wedding, left my job in Antigua in the banking world.
Yeah.
It turned out to be a great decision.
How did you sell this to the wife, man? Like, I mean, let's talk about this. I mean,
so
that just came too smooth for me. Like, you know, she was in, right? And man, probably she didn't see any pictures of Tallahassee beforehand.
She had not.
Okay.
She had not, and it just shows you how supportive she is. And to this day, she still agrees with the decision, and she actually, I think, has more friends than I do in Tallahassee. It turned out great. But you know, we didn't have any kids. You know, we had two pugs, two little dogs.
Had the freedom.
And we said, you know what? We bought a container. We rented a container. We shipped all our stuff to Tallahassee. Got on a flight. We showed up here, and I realized there's a tremendous opportunity with these 2 or 3 techies in Tallahassee, right?
Yeah.
That had an amazing stack of technology and knowledge in public health.
Yeah.
And I said, you know, maybe I can bring some of my banking and some of my experience creating the websites and some of the things I did in college. Maybe I can bring it to public health.
Yeah. They say the older you get, you got to start stretching more and, you know, drinking more water. I would probably have to say sweet potatoes.
I like that.
Sweet potato casserole.
I like that.
At a barbecue, I kind of like coleslaw and baked beans, man.
I like that too. Yep.
Yeah. KFC used to have some real good coleslaw.
Yes, remember those days?
My mom didn't even waste her time making it, you know? Like, she was just like, hey, we're going to KFC. This is what's going to be at the barbecue.
Absolutely.
And this is what we're going to chomp on. And so the coleslaw, she would make the baked beans. And Pop, man, he was always solid on the grill.
Yeah.
He was always solid on the grill, man. And
I always respect and I'm impressed by people like your pops who they're kind of like ninjas on the grill, you know?
And for the life of me, I mean, it's interesting. My daddy's, he's from Iron City, Georgia, which is roughly a population of 200.
Amazing.
Right? And, you know, Vietnam veteran, made a career out of the military, met my mom in college, you know, and it's interesting how nuanced he is and like what he knows how to do.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't call him a novice, but I want to call him an expert, right? Like, he, from a grilling standpoint, he's like at that medium, like above average level of, hey, I get this done and the food tastes great.
That's right.
Right? Even when it comes down to making coffee, there's just a lot of things that he just does.
Yeah.
And I think honestly, it just really comes from being in the country, growing up, and you know, in that time frame that he lived, and still living. But back then, you just had to get a lot of things done.
You got to get it done,
right? And so, I think that
it's kind of part of the checklist, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you know, I think it's something that even as entrepreneurs, when we think about like getting stuff done, like when did that kind of like GSD mentality, like really click for you?
It was in Antigua. You know, I was 24 years old, roughly, and everyone else was older.
Yeah.
And they're extremely smart.
Yeah.
And life smart.
Yeah.
And I had to, you know, they had faith in me, and I had to prove to them that I can hang.
Yeah.
And that I'm willing to put the hard work in.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, you know, it was very competitive.
Yeah.
So it required nights, required weekends.
Yeah.
It required saying, sure, someone needs to go to a foreign country, I'll go.
Yeah.
Right? And it required, you know, what some people consider sacrifice. For me, it was an opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's where the checklist, the journaling, you know, inbox 0, right? Which I always try to do, but I never accomplished.
Yeah, neither do I, man.
You know, that's where it came down. I've got to get stuff done.
Yeah.
And I need to deliver.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And no excuses.
Yeah.
If there's an issue, I remember we had to go live. We were migrating from one banking system to another. This is a multi-million-dollar project.
Yeah.
And it was supposed to go live at the end of March.
Yeah.
And we're looking at January.
Yeah.
And I could have waited another 30 days and then told the president of the bank that we weren't going to make it. But I had enough information in January that the responsible thing to do, even though I could have been chewed out, was to be honest with the president and say, we need to delay it by 30 days. Okay? And I remember I was extremely nervous because I didn't want to let him down.
Yeah, what was going on in your mind before you knocked on the door?
I thought I was letting him down.
Yeah.
And as I'm knocking on his door, he says, Eddie, let's go get pizza. He didn't even give me a chance to tell him the bad news.
But at least it was over pizza, right?
So we went to have pizza. I remember to this day, he was drinking Diet Coke. He's a great man. He was drinking Diet Coke.
Yeah.
I was drinking Diet Coke like this.
Yeah.
We had some pizza, pepperoni, cheese, whatever.
Yeah.
And I told the president, I said, first I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to be the project manager on this project.
For sure.
And as you know, we're going live. We were supposed to go live in April.
Yeah.
I've weighed all the risks. I know we're 60 days away.
Yeah.
I think we need to extend by 30 days.
Yeah.
And the fact that I was honest, right? And the fact that I had the details, I had done the homework.
Yeah.
And that I didn't wait to the last minute. He respected that. He sent an email to the clients and we extended it by 30 days.
Wow.
So for me, that was it was nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
But it was all about, being transparent, having those checklists, making sure that you're honest at all times, and really delivering.
So what kind of, I guess kind of like what experience has been a great teacher for you? Mentors have been a great teacher for you. What about like what you're reading or like what you're making yourself like aware of, right? Like in this information age, there's so much information, in my humble opinion. I mean, it's almost information overload. But I remember just a couple of core books that were pivotal in my life.
And I left you some here for you and your team.
Sweet.
Okay, sweet. Each one has a little note in it.
Okay, cool.
And so for me, I started off strong with books.
Okay.
Then social media came, and I became overwhelmed.
Gotcha.
I just couldn't absorb, learn everything that I was reading.
Yeah.
The number of newsletters that I subscribed to was just out of hand.
Yeah.
Went back to books.
Gotcha.
Okay. And some of these are oldies, but some of these to this day I still refer to. So, like for example, I'm a big Tim Ferriss fan.
Okay, sweet.
I like life hacking.
Yeah.
If I can work smarter and not harder, I'm going to do it. So one of his books, which is there for you guys, is Tools of Titans.
Okay, sweet.
I'm a big fan of tools.
Yeah, man.
Right? Whether it's actual physical tool, a tool up here, a technology tool, I think that's huge.
What are your 3 big tools?
So
that make your life like 2% better each day?
Each day.
Yeah.
So, great question. Obviously email is very helpful.
Cool.
Okay.
Well, what's your favorite email app?
Gmail.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, so I'm a big Gmail fan, and we're a Google.
Native.
Used to be called Google Suite, now it's called Google Workspace.
Yep.
They just changed it. So I'm a big Gmail. I'm a big Gmail fan.
Yeah.
And I really like Google Hangouts, or Google Chat, what they call it now.
Okay.
So I'm a big fan of that.
Yep.
And in terms of, let me think about this.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that I know you guys experience this as well is that you tinker with a lot of tools.
For sure.
You'll start with Evernote,
Yep.
and you'll do that for 30 days, and you'll switch to something else.
Yeah. Because you can get tool overload too.
My notebook.
Gotcha.
My notebook, man. I have a notebook right here on my computer.
Yep.
And so I have my hot list
Still write
for the day. I
Yeah.
still write it.
Yeah.
I still write it. Yes, I can use Google Keep and I can use Evernote and all these tools. But at the end of the day, I've got a notebook that if I'm overwhelmed, shut down everything, my notebook tells me what my hit list is
That's
for the day.
so critical, man. You know, I found that most leaders who are pretty efficient, pretty effective, as much as they like tinkering with the technology,
I love it.
The core basics of just writing something down,
I love it.
never goes away.
And as I write it, there have been times where I've written a to-do item,
Yeah.
and as I'm writing it out, I realize maybe I can do it differently, or maybe I don't have to do it. Well, you know what? Let's wait till next week. And if I put it on the paper after, for next week, the item for next week, I kind of forget about it.
Yeah.
Versus going to sleep at night, not writing it down, it keeps marinating in my mind.
Yeah.
It kind of bothers you don't rest.
Yeah.
But really, those are probably the big tools that I use. And so Tools of Titans, for example, that book has a bunch of real cool technology tools, tools for, to have in your car, cooking, big into cooking, how to cook. And when you're, obviously busy as an entrepreneur, what can you do? What shortcuts can you do to have a good meal?
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite books.
That's good. That's real good, man. That's real good. What are you kind of, talk to us a little bit more about Ruvos, right? About what you guys are doing now. Like we're in the 2020 just ended, right? A huge year for a lot of people experiencing a lot of different emotions, right? From loss, from pain to, sickness. People lost loved ones. Business-wise, like a lot of like the whole economy was hit globally in a lot of ways. Some industries did extremely well, right? And then some took a hit, right? What are you guys doing right now, kind of coming off of that year? And what did you guys do I'm sure like with public health, data and IT, like you guys were in the thick of it all, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, had to be.
It's a great question. I remember one of my mentors saying, "You can't grow a business in public health." And my answer
That had to be
was,
fuel for the
well,
fire.
my answer was, there's something wrong with that statement.
Yeah.
Because I think public health should have some of the most modern technology on the planet. To me, it's an issue of national security.
Yeah.
Right? Just like the Department of Defense has some of the best tools and tech in the world, why can't public health? Now, what we did for 16 years, because we celebrate 17 years this year, which is incredible.
Yeah.
For 16 years, we worked our tails off to work with government, to work with folks that didn't have the funding necessary to accomplish, the goals of the project.
Yeah.
Work with hospitals.
Yeah.
And we created, with our partners, a highway system for data exchange.
Yeah.
And it was tracking flu, it's tracking whooping cough, bioterrorism data. And
Did you guys see coronavirus before it kind of emerged on the scene? Or some indications of it?
Yes, there was chatter in the public health world,
Yeah.
the epidemiology world, the data science world, that there was something out there.
Yeah.
And this was, I remember sending an email to one of our customers, it was January 21st. And I said, we need to keep an eye on this thing.
Yeah.
And so what we did was, when we were called upon in late February, we said, there's no need to rip and replace the investments into public health. Listen, are there potholes in the highway system? Absolutely.
For sure.
Can it be funded better? Absolutely. But there is no reason to rip and replace. So we raised our hand and said, CDC, HHS, the White House Task Force, we're moving flu, we're moving diseases all around the United States.
Yeah.
We can do it for COVID with our partners and our nonprofit organizations that we work with.
I'm pretty sure it was a blind eye.
And at first they said there's no way you guys can do it. Well, today, with our partners, we're moving all the COVID-19 data for the United States of America.
Wow.
We're hosting the Google Apple exposure notification app that you have on your phone. Some people call it contact tracing. It's actually exposure notification.
Yeah.
We're moving data all around the United States, all the way to the White House. A small business from Tallahassee.
Yeah.
Okay? And has it been easy? It has been the hardest 10 months.
Yeah.
Now, the silver lining is we were able to hire folks.
Yeah.
We've hired 20 people over the last 6 months.
Yeah.
We've been able to provide great opportunities for families.
Yeah.
Our team members, you know a few of them, have been challenged, which, by the way, they love.
Yeah. Yeah.
They love to be challenged.
Yeah.
And we're not physicians, but we still feel that we made a dent in the recovery.
For sure.
Right? We did our small piece to get the data.
You played your piece of the puzzle.
In front of the epidemiologists, in front of the scientists, so they can then make decisions.
Yeah.
So they can then create the vaccination.
Yeah.
So I'm hopeful that, unlike H1N1, I'm hopeful the funding will stick.
Yeah.
I'm hopeful the administration will realize this is an extremely important topic. Just like we pave roads, we need to pave that highway system for data exchange.
Yeah.
And lastly, we need to get back to international public health.
Yeah.
If I can help, I had the privilege to go to Vietnam with Ruvos a few years ago.
Yeah.
And we were able to share some of our lessons learned, and they were able to share with us too. It was a great experience.
Yeah.
We were talking about dengue in specific.
Yeah.
And why can't we do that now? Right? I think, collaborating with the World Health Organization, with the U.S. embassies across the world, sharing some of our lessons learned about cloud computing, about open source tech. Right? So I think international public health is going to be key. Do we have a lot of work to do in the U.S.? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But we need to also take care of our neighbors across the world if we can.
Yeah. What at this kind of juncture of, your career and the transformation of Ruvos, as a brand transformation, there was a capability transformation. 2020, of course, was a whole nother transformation itself. What part gets you excited?
So,
because it's 16 years now, right? Like,
it's amazing.
And so, like, what gets you excited?
I think people are finally realizing, number one, what we do. It was hard, Speaking of mission and vision and rebranding, it's sometimes hard to explain what we do when it comes to healthcare and data. I think people understand that more.
Yeah.
For me, one of the most exciting things, which is also the biggest challenge for me, is letting go. Because we've been able to have the fortune.
Explain that.
So we've hired amazing, talented people from around the U.S., really from around the world, who, let me tell you, come with a ton of experience, are extremely sharp, and have a great amount of energy.
Yeah, you guys got a team in South Africa now.
We do, and which means, Eddie, you're gonna have to let go of that daily meeting that you have with your managers.
Shoot.
Or, Eddie, instead of responding to that email, remember you have a chief operating officer who is amazing. Let that individual respond, right?
Yeah.
So I've had to adjust, right? We're not 15 people anymore.
Yeah.
We're not 20, 30, 40. We're larger.
Yeah.
One can't be everywhere.
Yeah.
And you know me, I like to be in the mix.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Real communal.
So I need to let go
Yeah.
a little bit. And so that's been one of the biggest challenges, but it's also one of the most exciting things because then I can see other people's careers flourish.
But so I guess the question is, how do you let go while still staying connected? Like what's the art and science of that?
Listening and reading. Instead of me just speaking up all the time or hitting reply all the time, Eddie, wait and read. You've hired some of the best people. They've been trained. They're true professionals.
Yeah.
Or some of them have been with us for 6, 7, 8, 10 years.
Yeah.
Now it's their turn, right? Sit back and watch. Now you jump in when you need to.
Yeah.
But it's been one of the most exciting things is seeing some of these folks who may have graduated from FSU or FAMU or TCC, started with us at 20 years old, now they're 30 and they're running projects of national significance.
Yeah.
That feels good, man.
Yeah, man.
That feels good. And then maybe I can take a vacation too.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. Where's the, kind of like the next evolution of Ruvos? Like what are you seeing that you guys want to continue to establish yourself in, but then kind of create new paths and like you talk about building that infrastructure,
right?
And exchanging information. Like, what do you see next?
Well, I think I'd love to take what we've done in the U.S. and where we're still improving. Take it overseas, Caribbean, Latin America, maybe back to Brazil. Africa, Asia. I'm not saying we did it perfectly, but we have some great tools and people that can share our story and best practices. And then the next thing that we're investing is data science. I mean, Dominic, we're moving the data, we're hosting it, we're securing it. And we're handing it to the epidemiologists, we're handing it to the doctors. What if those doctors, through our technology, had data intelligence, right? Analytical tools, right? And, augmented, intelligence and things of that nature to help them make those decisions. These are some of the smartest people in the world, but if they had some of the tools that are out there or could be out there, maybe they can predict something a little bit sooner. Maybe they can get that press release out sooner because they're more confident in the data. So I think the data science world, the data intelligence world is honestly the key. And so that's what I think 2021 is going to be about. And our hopefully next 16 years.
That's good, man. Listen, a couple of nuggets for our people who are watching with us, man. If you had to tell someone starting off just 3 things that they need to focus on, like 3 things they need to focus on every day, just to kind of get after their dreams, what do you share?
That's a great question. I think invest in yourself. You are your own company. Me Inc. Me, Inc. Invest in yourself, and that could be reading, learning, health, mental health, physical, etc. Which is important because oftentimes that gets sacrificed when you're thinking of that startup or that new website you're creating. I also think a key piece is listening, right? Oftentimes when you get excited, one tends to talk and share the ideas, and you think your idea is the best thing since sliced bread. One of the big lessons learned for me is with mentors. I was in my 20s, and there were folks that were 50, 55, 60 years old, folks from Cuba, that came from Cuba. And to this day, I remember those things that they said. And then lastly, if you have an opportunity to get on a plane and travel, do it. Do it. Take that risk.
Do it.
Do that. So,
I love it, man.
Yeah, man.
Eddie, man, listen, I'll tell you one thing. Every time we chat, I'm just taking notes and gems.
No, likewise. No, your questions are awesome.
I'm taking notes and gems, and so
on the next one, you have to be in this seat, and I'll be in that one. All right.
We'll do that. We'll develop some more repertoire.
That's right.
I'll get on the other side.
That's right.
Awesome. I love it, Eddie.
All right.
I appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you and the team. You guys are awesome.
No, you guys are great.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thanks,
man. Thanks.